So I wanted to make this video because September 2 years ago, I went through probably the worst stretch of my life mentally. And it was really just a culmination of a lot of things leading up to that. And I wanted to kind of dive into that because, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. This month is September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. I believe that's what it's called. But I know for me personally, and there's been some friends of mine within the coaching community, the baseball community, that have shared their own stories. And I've kind of released like little bits and pieces of my past before, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it for a couple of reasons. One, because I know so many guys that suffer in silence or perceive silence. They will tell their close friends, family, people in their inner circle what they're kind of going through, but they never really get to the base layer of where the issues lie, and those things tend to arise again and again and again. And luckily they have the support system in order to fix those issues or address the issue at the time. But I also know how powerful that is to share your story and be vulnerable. And I'm very lucky that over the past year and a half, I've kind of garnered this confidence or just had the ability to start sharing things. And now, I hop on here and I have this camera in front of me, and it's second nature at this point. And so, yeah, I'll kind of dive into it. But, I moved away from Maryland for the first time in 2020 at the end of COVID. I was living with my parents. I was working with my parents. And I got cabin fever, locked into the house. You can't really do much. I was 23 at the time, and I was just so like, screw this. Like, I need to get out and I need to go somewhere far away. And so I applied for a job in North Carolina, went on a trip to Utah with some close high school friends. Didn't think I had any shot at getting the job. Didn't have any qualifications for the role, and ended up getting it. And I went down, visited the company. I'm going to keep it nameless. Some people probably know what it is, but whatever. And I took it right away. Great opportunity to learn. Great people down there. Up and coming company. And I was very excited about it. What I didn't foresee happening was the moving away, 500, 600 miles away from my family, my friends. And I had never really lived farther than 3-4 hours away from my family at the time. And every time I knew there was like this coming back to where I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be able to go back, see my people, hang out with my people. I'm very close to my family, my friends. They're a big reason that I was able to have the support system to start my own company, to kind of go out on my own. They were always very supportive of me. And so, I don't want to play this off as me having some kind of like hard, tough upbringing. I didn't. I had it very easy. I had it very, very easy. And I think that's been empowering for me. And I'm able to understand that, I guess, having that support system, I was going to have the empowerment to know that no matter what I pursued, I was going to have people behind me, whether they liked it or not. They were going to say, okay, you know yourself. And if you want to do this, go for it. So I move. And I go down there, and, before that, I started experiencing, some anxiety, some just kind of like discomfort. And I've had that in the past. Like when in college, I had some like close family members pass away, or like, some family friends pass away. And I would like get that kind of like anxious feeling, but I never really had a name for it. I never really had like an identity for what that feeling was until I decided that I wanted to move and pursue this new opportunity. And it was scary more than anything. And I think that feeling really arose from like the thoughts running through my head of like, am I going to meet friends? Am I going to like where I live? Is it going to work out? Am I going to be good at my job? Like all these things kind of like processing through my head. And so I think that that's really like the root of where the anxiety came from. Am I going to see my family often? Which I didn't, but that happened. So I moved down, learned a ton, trained my ass off, like got into the best physical shape I've ever been in my life. And that was really just like what I did for the first like 2 months. I just trained and worked, and basically that was like my monk mode period. It's where I learned a ton and got into great shape. Wasn't boozing or anything, wasn't partying, just like ingrained myself in the environment of what I was doing, and really became like the ethos of what I wanted to be as far as like a worker and an athlete and a coach and everything like that. So I did that. And then, based off that, I started to experience some of like the anxiety again of like my friends going out and enjoying their lives and pursuing relationships, interpersonal and romantic relationships, having these experiences with me not there. Most of my friends at the time were all conjugated in the same area, and I built some relationships, friends wise, with the people I was working with. But I would notice every time we'd go out to dinner or we'd go play golf or just anything like that, everything would be centered around work. And that was in the back of my mind all the time, to where it's like my entire life right now is centered around my work, and that is my identity. And I was okay with that because I knew that like what we were building together was super special, but I didn't have the wherewithal to understand that that was going to be a means to an end at some point, which I'll touch on a little bit later. But summer progresses. I make a couple trips home, and every time I would leave home, I was still, drinking when I would see my friends and family pretty, I wouldn't say aggressively, but like I was drinking, booze was a part of my life more so than it is now. Never had a problem with alcohol. Still don't. Let me preface that by saying that. But it did affect like my mood and my mental state, and I was very cognizant of that. And I would go home and I would go to a party or a gathering or whatever, and sometimes maybe drink a little bit too much to suppress some of the feelings. You've heard the story 100 times before with people who have been through it before. They use alcohol as kind of like a suppressant, and I was certainly in that category, to where it was a temporary fix, and oftentimes it made the problems worse of having to leave on a Sunday with leave my family, my friends, and have this sort of like downing, kind of sad, depressed feeling. And it happened a few times when I went home. Didn't really think much of it until probably about July of 2021. Took a trip home, spent an hour or two with my parents, went, saw my boys, went to like a bachelor party. First day was great. Second and third days were hell. It was terrible. Didn't sleep much. Was freaking out about work. Had like 100 texts on my work phone. And Sunday rolled around. I was supposed to stay through the day and fly back Monday morning early. Sunday rolled around. I was like, I got to get out of here. So I went back with a buddy. And my parents were like, why'd you come back early? And I was like, I just got work stuff to do. I was like completely playing a role. It really inside, I was just like, I was breaking down. I was freaking out about work and everything. And so I took a couple days just to kind of like recollect. Told the people at work that I had some personal stuff to deal with. So Tuesday or Wednesday rolls back around. I'm back, and everything's fine. Back to the normal kind of like routine schedule, which was obviously good at the time to have that. Was good for, a couple months, July, August, and had a great time. Went to some beaches and enjoyed my weekends, and made a lot of progress personally within my career and everything. And then September rolls around. I come back for a college reunion, and even on the first day, I just knew something was off. Like, I don't know what it was. It was just like, I moved from working in a facility with 10 12, 15 other people, all kind of collected around the same goal, training, working, communicating with one another, had that sense of community, camaraderie, to working in basically a cubicle and just like sitting on my phone, sitting on my computer all day. And what I thought was going to be a good transition into a high level opportunity within my niche or my industry became nothing more in my mind than a job that I could have taken anywhere. It was really like a role within a niche that didn't really involve the role too much, if that makes sense. So I lost a big sense of my purpose, and I was dealing with like some injuries. I wasn't sleeping a ton just because it was weighing on my mentals. I wasn't living in the most ideal circumstances as far as like location and the people around me and things of that nature where I wanted to be. And so I came back on that Monday or that Sunday night. And I remember I drove back from the weekend from the reunion. I woke up on that Sunday morning and I was hungover, no sleep. Drove 7 hours back, fighting to stay awake. And I got back to my apartment, I remember. I put my bag down on my bed. And I sat next to my bed, and I don't know what it was, if it was one specific thing or not, but I just broke down in tears. And I was completely broken. Like, I didn't know. I'd never experienced that amount of pain before. And it went on for probably 5 days. That next day, I just kind of fought through it, was fighting through tears, signed up for therapy like that morning. So I was like, I don't know what to do. This is not okay. This is not a good place to be in. And I'm going to bring this to a head eventually as far as like what I did to get out of that and where I'm at now, which is a really good spot. But I remember talking to the therapist. It was online therapy. And I explained what was going on. I was bawling through the entire meeting. And she just says like, well, it sounds like you miss your family. And I was like, well, I certainly do. I miss my family. I miss my friends. But I think it was deeper than that, to where I wasn't necessarily serving the purpose. And I use the word ethos a lot because I think that it's a good term for like someone who embodies exactly what their purpose in life is and like what they're meant to do ultimately. And that was really what it was. And so I talked to a few people. I was like, look, I gotta take some time. I gotta go home. I gotta be with my folks. I gotta be with my people to figure out like where I'm at and what I need to do. And in fairness to the people that I was working with, the people that were building what we were working on, I maintained my position. I kept working. I just wasn't physically there, which, building in person is obviously building remotely. It's two different things. And being around the people that you're building with is really important. And so I did that for 2 to 3 months. I stayed home, which was supposed to be about a week. And I ended up staying home for about 2 to 3 months, would make trips back down south here and there. But I had to make the decision on what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. And these feelings continued. I had really bad days. I had really anxious, sad days where my mind would be racing. I was, again, alcohol was still a part of my life at this point. And ultimately made the decision that I wanted to leave and try some new things around late 2021. When I was thinking about like what I really wanted to do, I pursued broadcast journalism in college, hence why I'm comfortable behind a mic and in front of a camera. Thought I wanted to pursue that and pursued some opportunities. Tried it, had fun in some of the pieces, but I realized how far behind the eight ball I was, and ultimately I use the example of like I was calling baseball games, which was fun, yeah. But I think enjoying something and really serving the purpose of what you were meant to do and what really lights the fire under your ass are two different things. And I'd be calling this game, and I'd be like, damn, I need to be on the field. I want to be in the weeds. I want to be helping guys get better. I want to use my own experience to impact others and help improve them in all aspects of life, which is part of the reason I'm doing this. And so I couldn't get to the bottom of why I was feeling this way, why I was feeling sad, why I was feeling depressed, why I had, thoughts running through my brain that I never imagined could be running through them, and why other people weren't feeling that same way. And what it really boiled down to was, and I remember, and this is the last sort of one-off story I'll tell. I remember I took a job. At this point, I had my CSCS, I had my coaching certifications, I had backgrounds in coaching, and I went to a mentor of mine who I'm very grateful for. And I just said, I was basically unemployed. I went to him, I said, look, you got to give me something. I've got 1 year that I can't really involve myself with any of the things that I've garnered this experience to, as far as helping pitchers get better at baseball. I can't do anything for a year. It's a contractual obligation. You got to give me something. Can I personal train? Can I work at the desk? Just let me be. He owned a gym. Let me just do something. He was very gracious and allowed for me to pick up some hours working at the front desk, getting paid, $13 an hour. And that was my job for probably 3 months. I was a personal trainer without any clients. I worked at the desk. And this is crazy, but one of the athletes that is now a client of mine who's made a ton of strides, he showed up at the gym one day and he introduced himself. And he's like, oh, what's his face? You worked at X location, right? And I'm like, yeah. And we had a conversation and we talked, and he was like, well, if you ever get something going, just let me know, because I'd love to train with you. While we're having this conversation, I am mopping the floor of the gym. And at the back of my mind, I'm like, I am a glorified janitor at 25 years old with all of this experience behind me. I've got my health, I've got my family, and I am empty. I've no idea what I want to do, where I want to take this thing. And I just have no action steps. I'm scared, And I remember watching a video of a guy who was talking about the things that people regretted on their deathbed. And they were, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I had went up to that girl and said hello. And I wish I had started that business or pursued that opportunity that I really wanted to, but I had that fear in the back of my mind. And in that moment, everything really clicked for me, because all of my feelings of anxiety, of sadness, were rooted in the fact that I didn't give myself the opportunity to take control of my destiny, of my financial destiny, my personal destiny, what I really wanted out of my life. And I just was riding on the coattails of people before me that had different backgrounds and experiences and things that shaped who they were. And so in that moment, I decided that I needed to take that control and take the next step, which is what allowed for me to launch my company now. Right in that moment, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going to live in Maryland with my people, and I'm going to pursue this thing. And I'm not going to give myself other opportunities to sway away from that. And there's no plan B. I'm going to go all in on this thing, and I will be successful with it. And doing that, giving myself problems to solve, giving myself purpose, giving myself tasks, was the number one most instrumental thing in allowing for myself to get out of that mental rut, to eliminate the sadness, to eliminate the anxiety. Does it pop up now and again? when problems arise that feel like they don't have solutions? Absolutely. But anytime, and the action step I have now, anytime that those feelings arise of hopelessness or, you know, fear, I know it is because there is something that needs to be done that is not being taken care of, whether it's a hard conversation or whether it's a task or whether it's a lifestyle change. And so what I did was for the first 6 months of me starting my business, I eliminated alcohol. It was no longer a part of my life. Did I still go out with my friends? Absolutely. But I didn't drink. I developed the self-confidence to be like, I don't need this substance. And I never really did. I did it in college as well. I would go out without drinking, go to social events without drinking. And I would just enjoy the people around me. And when it became too much to where people around me had too much to drink, I would either leave or just keep to my own. The second thing I did was, again, give myself problems to solve. So, okay, you have no other stream of income right now, and you're going to need that to support yourself, support your family, give yourself the opportunity to take hold and take ownership of the life that you eventually want. Not to discount the fact that my buddy Eli back there was a big part of this as well. I got him in July of 2022. And even him just helped establish routine and responsibility and really just take the focus off myself. When I had really bad days, I knew that he was going to be happy to see me no matter what. And and where I'm at now is, completely in a mental headspace to where anytime anything like that arises, I can identify the issue or why it's happening and then take action on it. So, if I feel lonely, if I feel as though there's no one around me, I pursue community. I ask friends to go hang out, go grab dinner, whatever. If I'm feeling sluggish or tired, I work out. I go for a walk. I get moving, out of your brain into your body, that sort of thing. If there are problems that are weighing on my mind, I write down a checklist of what needs to be done, and just start going down the list and checking those things off. As this relates to players or people that have dealt with this within my industry, I think a lot of the issues arise from feeling as though, especially with pitchers, right? That's who I work with. You have a bad outing, or you have a string of bad outings, or your girlfriend breaks up with you, or your coach yells at you, or whatever. You feel as though there are no options in order to get out of that, because you have to wait for the next outing, or you have to wait for the next time you're going to see that person, or you have to wait for the next practice or anything like that. But taking ownership of that, understanding that you are ultimately responsible for your success or failure, your positive or negative mental headspace, is empowering, because it allows for you to understand what is giving you those feelings and how to eliminate them or how to turn them around. And so that was instrumental for me. It's allowed for me to move into my own place, move into a new place that has an office attached to it, a balcony, much nicer place. All within the span of 2 years, I've done this, and it's not going to happen overnight. I dealt with those same types of, mental health issues or feelings over the course of, days, weeks. Not every day was perfect. Not every day was, happy, cheerful. Hey, like, here I am, me on Instagram doing some stupid ass video. But fighting through those issues and allowing for myself to just improve based on that was huge. And so to wrap this up, for anybody that has gone through that or has been through that or is going through that right now, I want to give you a task, because therapy didn't do much for me, if I'm being honest. It allowed for somebody else to be a sounding board. And it was so based on the internal self and where the issues were coming from. But there weren't a ton of actionable steps that I was given in order to solve those issues. Up until I took personal responsibility and said, okay, I'm sad and I'm depressed because I feel like I have no purpose. I feel as though I'm a failure. I feel as though I am not going to be successful in any avenue of life. I was able to finally say, okay, how can I receive those things under my own power? And so taking that power back was the biggest thing for me in order to get out of the rut. And so for anyone going through that, I just offer you the piece of advice of identifying where those issues are coming from. And I know that for some people, it's trauma within their family or their personal lives that I can't even imagine. Like I said, I've had it pretty darn good up to this point. But once you do that, you can give yourself tasks and you can give yourself responsibilities that are going to take the focus off yourself and really just give yourself the opportunity to create the life that you want, create the relationships that you want, create the environment that you want, all of these things. And that was really the biggest thing for me, is taking that personal responsibility and understanding that your mental health, your physical health, your success or failure is completely on you. You have all the power in the world. And so I just wanted to come on and share this just because I know that there are a lot of people that are dealing with these types of issues. And yeah, so, yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. Like I said, I'm in a great spot now, and I love sharing this story just because I think it's really the biggest thing that allowed for me to go out and pursue what I'm doing right now. So yeah, just wanted to share that, and just know that if you are going through it, you're not alone. I'm here for you. There's other people around that are here for you, and hopefully this resonates with some of you. So